Hey YouTube, it's Justin, and I'm going to be doing a review of the 2019 300RR Race Edition. So far, it's got 52 hours, and it is still running strong. 52 hours there, 781 miles. Same front tire that it came with, and it's done wonderful. I don't wash out hardly at all with it. I did replace the tube with a heavy duty tube in it at one point. So far the bike's done really well. The thing has handled so many crashes. It's handled so many fall downs. Things don't break on it. These flag guards, they don't break this year. I know in other years they haven't done so well, but these things have done really well. Obviously you could tell I bent the crap out of these handles, levers. I just played in the mud just a little bit ago. I just, whatever. Anyways, but yeah, this bike's done really well, I would say. I did do the suspension. I had the suspension done by AMP. I'm a shorty. One thing I like about these bikes is they cater a little bit more to short riders. I am 5'7", and I don't know what my exact inseam is, but whatever it is, originally I couldn't touch the floor or ground with either feet, toes specifically, and now I can, specifically with the toes, and then I can flat foot with one side. Makes life so much easier. I love this bike. It's amazing. There are a few quirks. I mean, not very many, I'd say. The carburetor from Beta is a Can 36. I think they went with the 36 because they're just a little bit more snappy in the mid-range and low-end power. One thing with the float is they don't come adjusted right for these bikes. If you lean them to the side too far, stock, then the gas pisses right out. I went in there and adjusted that. I did also a few other mods on this carburetor. Nothing crazy. I double looped these lines, and so they double loop, and then they go down in the bottom of the bike. And then I looped over the intake for the carb. The vent line goes up and over the intake and then down to the bottom of the bike. That helps with extra, just any gas that pops up into that vent. It could go right back into the bowl. One thing this bike comes advertised with is a 2.5 gallon tank. That's great in theory, except these tanks are 2 gallons. I've tested it several times at a gas station. They go in 2 gallons, and that's as much as you can get. And most of the time, if you drop them several times, the gas just leaks right out, and that little green piece that sits here, it fell out. So, and I couldn't get it back in, so I just left it. Other than that, I haven't had an issue. Oh, there's another thing. If I go over here, one thing that I found to be an issue is the wiring on this bike. if you can see right here, it's really hard to see, I've put a little cloth right here that covers the pipe a little bit, and I've zip tied it there, and that's just to keep this electrical connection right here, if you could see it in there, this wire, from touching the muffler. I also had these lines touching the muffler, or not muffler, the pipe at one point, and they melted off and caused a vapor lock in the carburetor, which sucked, and I had to figure out how to fix that. And so I fixed it, got new lines, and I covered the pipe here with like a cloth and zip tied it there, and so far it hasn't given me any issues, and it's like 30 hours since then, and I love it. So another thing, this skid plate, dude, this thing, these stock skid plates are amazing. It's hit rocks, it's hit stuff really hard. I don't race or do anything crazy, but we have some rock fields and stuff, and rocks kick up and hit that sucker, and nothing's pierced it, nothing's broke it. It's not brittle. It's amazing. These side cases right here, these things are rock hard. I've hit rocks pretty hard with them, and it hasn't cracked, it hasn't broken off. It's doing all right. I'd say this bike's wonderful. Now, it is jetted really lean for the time of year right now. It's almost the beginning of October, end of September. It just snowed. I know, crazy. But the first snow of the year at the end of September. So I'm out here riding it. And one thing that is common with these 300 betas is pipe bang. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. It's not an issue. It's just jetted really lean on the bottom. I did crash a few times, and I banged up the radiators, so I straightened them out by just taking them off and hitting them with a piece of steel, flat piece of steel, and so they're as straight as I can handle it and being able to bolt on. But I need to get a louver for it. I plan to buy new radiators anyways next year for the start of the season. But yeah, so far this bike is amazing. Before I put it up for the winter, I'm gonna do a re-grease of all the bearings and check to see if there's any problems with them. But so far, you know, it runs amazing. I have never had a dead battery. I've never had a problem with the starter. This thing's been dropped so many times, and so far it runs like a top. It literally, every hour hasn't been hard, but they've been hard enough. So these tires, they're not the stock ones. These are Moto Z mountain hybrids, and usually on dirt roads like this, leading up to trails and whatnot, I'll run about 10 psi on tubeless, and then if I'm doing really gnarly single track, I'll run it down anywhere between 0 and 3. Just depends on like if there's roots and whatnot. The front is always at 8. I got a heavy duty tube in there, and I've only ever had a flat once, and that was with the stock tube. Ever since then, they've been fine. But yeah, a really amazing bike. Let me start it. It's really quiet. People have told me that they've never heard two-strokes so quiet, and you know, one thing about this bike also is they're really big mid-range power bike. They're not pipey. There's low grunt. Like it just bah over everything. And then even when you get into like the mid-range, or you're sitting in the mid RPMs, it hardly ever wants to get on the pipe, unless, like, you know, you're using the clutch and you're forcing it onto the pipe. It'll do it, but you know, it likes to sit in that mid-range, and it's really nice. One of these days I'll have to get the GoPro mount and stuff and hook it on and take it for a ride. But it's really, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Let me start it here real quick. Oh, this map switch. Apparently people don't like it because they feel kind of cheap. I think it's fine, and you really do feel the power difference. It's like you, let's say you hold the throttle steady going down the road, and you just hit the switch. You feel like, you know, you feel yourself fall forward, and then you push it back into sun mode, and you feel it just slightly pull yourself backwards. It's just, you really notice it. These handlebar, or these levers, have seen better days. I'm definitely going to be replacing them. Maybe go with a full wraparound. But you know, so far people have said that these things would snap, they would break. I've had them, you know, bent pretty far back, and they've survived. Holy moly, you know. I fall a lot, and so it's quite surprising. But yeah, I'm gonna make sure it's in neutral, and it's not. There it is. All right, and then it's kind of cold out here, so it's running on a little bit on the lean side. And I was just running it a little bit ago, so yeah, it definitely is running a little on the lean side. This light right here, it's not very bright. Yeah, it died again. It's just, it's cold, and it's still kind of running a little bit lean. Running on summer jetting. But yeah, that light's not very bright. Wish they would do just a little bit more on the lighting on these bikes, but that actually brings me up to another little bit. This backlight, it used to be red, and now obviously the lights are still LED red, but my first what do you call those, where the front end comes up and whips you, I can't remember what it's called, but I bent this up and it broke this little light fixture. I haven't replaced it. I'm not worried about it. But yeah, wonderful bike. Beta's done a really good job, and I think this year, well, I don't think, I know, this year they have the counterbalance two-strokes, so I'm not gonna get a new one, but you know, it'd definitely be nice. But yeah, that's my review, 50-hour review of the Beta 300RR race. If you have any questions, talk to me in the comments. I have no problem replying back to you. So long. Bye.